Welcome into Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor. This one coming to you after the Boston Bruins lose in Buffalo 6-3. We didn't do a show after the Bruins won 5-1 over Carolina the previous night at home. We will touch on that game and just some of the good things we saw there, because in this one on Sunday Night Razor, we didn't see a lot of great stuff after, I guess, a pretty decent first period. Before we get to everything, let's remind you, I don't know if we have to, but I guess we have to because it's part of our agreement. Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor, always presented by our lead pod sponsor, Fazenda Coffee. Go check out fazendacoffee.com. That's Fazenda, fazendacoffee.com, for some of the finest roasted coffee you can find, whether you want whole bean or ground, dark roast or light. Fazenda Coffee has got what you are looking for. They've also got all the morning brew stuff. You can go directly to that at fazendacoffee.com/morning brew. Check out the brew blend, the brew hats, and the brew clean canteen travel mugs. Fazenda Coffee Roasters. They got you taken care of at home. They've also got you taken care of if you've got a business. They are Boston's premier boutique coffee roaster. Check out fazendacoffee.com. I'm trying to think of a segue. I've got nothing left in me right now, Razor. Good
nothing, huh?
Tonight. No, I don't. I'm admittedly struggling. I thought dinner was perhaps the best part, although first period was okay.
I feel like we have last night to latch on to.
No, I get you. You're right.
Last night we can latch onto that because let's go to that because it was fun in the Garden last night. It was a good.
What was the best part about that game? It
was a season for a lot of guys in David.
Okay.
You know what David Pastrnak did, a career. What David Pastrnak did on Saturday night and for Sunday for that matter. So. Again, we're going New Jersey, Chicago, like
Pittsburgh, and then who is it? New Jersey again or Washington?
Jersey again. They get New Jersey. New Jersey, lucky New Jersey, man.
Oh,
man.
I end with New Jersey at home then. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I don't know if we're gonna get any more wins. So the Carolina one was fun. Everyone had fun.
And you called it. I don't know, and I'm not being a smart. I don't know if you were being flippant or if you were being like, yeah, no, this is the kind of game you win, and you meant it. Again, not really.
Yeah, yeah, no, I did. I did. I mean, obviously, I didn't.
You called it.
I didn't put any money on it. I didn't put my house. I wasn't that confident, but I've just been around these games and these teams where, you see it in the league on a fairly consistent basis at this point, where the bad team beats the really good team and loses to all the other teams.
Saturday night was kind of like that in the National Hockey League.
Yes.
There were some other games that you kind of said, okay, where did that come from?
Yeah.
And it's just because the amount of games that you end up playing, you're going to have those type of things. The Pittsburgh Penguins beat the Dallas Stars, right?
There you go.
There was another one. The Sabres beat the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think Utah beat Winnipeg. That's right. I had to look at that one. So there was, it wasn't like the Bruins were the only one. It's going to happen over the course of a season like that.
Yeah, and good teams are 2 weeks out of the playoffs. They're really not in playoff mode until next week. So they just take their eye off the ball a little bit, and again, you get a great performance by your two best, most important players, I suppose, if not your best in David and Swayman, and then you pull it out. So, it was fun. It was fun. It was fun. The only fun we've had in a really long time.
In a long time, yeah. They stopped the losing streak at 10, so they win that game. We said this on the air, but it's worth repeating. The Garden crowd was into it. They were supporting their team from warm-up. It was a good crowd. They were there. They were engaged in the, at TD Garden. They were engaged in the warm-up. They gave them a rousing welcome when the game began. The Bruins, whether they fed off that or not, I can't imagine they didn't. But, I don't know if that was the impetus for them playing as well as they did. But they came through. And have you, in all your years, and you were around some pretty damn good players. But have you been around a player that has performed like David Pastrnak has, basically the last 52 games or so, 53 games?
I think about a couple guys. On a bad team, Matt Sundin was kind of like David in Toronto, where he was all on his own. It was Matt's, and he just kind of made everybody who was around him a little bit better, but he was the one who was always 30, 40, 50 points ahead of the next guy in scoring there. And then with a good team, I was around for when Henrik Sedin did his thing and won MVP in 09, 010.
But that was a good team.
And that was a great team. Exactly. And but his brother was out most of the year. Danny was out. He had hurt. I forget what he broke. I think it was his arm or something. And Hank did it kind of by himself for the first time. And that was pretty cool to watch him. He did, again, Matt's didn't have as many points as David did. Like he never got to 100 points like this when I was with him. Hank was getting this amount of points and getting like a 3-4 point night every week, it felt like. And it was just, you marvel. It's crazy because it's so hard. It's so crazy. And the fact that like he gets 5 points and we're just like, it's cool, but we're not making a huge monster deal. And that's how good David is, because 5 points in the NHL in one game it doesn't happen. There's only a handful of guys that happens to in their career.
And Geekie had that as well, which is crazy.
Correct.
That's another part of our discussion. But David's performance, that is going to go down as one of his in my eyes, one of his best performances ever as a Boston Bruin, in that because of the lack of other high-end talent around him, it felt like he was galloping in the game on Saturday night. He was at a different pace. It was, kind of the old saying, like he was skating above the ice, so to speak. He was not floating in a bad way. He was floating around that ice above it. And you could tell he wasn't going to be denied. And it was a feeling. And at least I felt it. I'm sure you did too on rinkside. And his goals were scored in 3 different ways. I brought this up off air, maybe even on air on Sundays about how, the last couple of years, the Pittsburgh Penguins have not made the playoffs. It's been 4 years now. They haven't made the playoffs. But the last 2 years in particular, Crosby's been given a lot of accolades about, he should get votes for MVP. He's bringing this team along on his shoulders alone. And he's had some other good talent around him, but it's an aging team there in Pitt. Regardless, my point is, Pastrnak is doing the exact same thing, Razor. I mean, when I say he's at that level, I am not saying he's Sidney Crosby. I'm saying, though, he's right there as far as being responsible for all success of a team. I know you need good goaltending, not taking anything away from like what Swayman did on Saturday, because he was excellent. He was. But David Pastrnak's all worldly.
Yes. Yeah. Superstar. All the things. And yeah, no one's Sid, but it's the same idea. It's just it's the same importance. And at the end of the day, the David Pastrnak is the face of this franchise. He is the Boston Bruins, and that
has he played himself into the captaincy, given what we've seen, how he's handled himself, and how his presence impacts others both on and off the ice? Has this been enough of a sample size? Because a few weeks ago, let's go back to March 7th, we talked about, well, we weren't sure. There's not going to be a captain, or there shouldn't be the rest of the way after Brad had been, traded. But now Charlie's been out. McAvoy's been out. That was the other part of the discussion. But do you think that he's done enough to say, yeah, this is his now?
I do. I would have, again, I think whenever we've talked about whoever was going to be next, a year ago, or whenever Brad got it, that came up, like who was going to be after Brad. It always just feels like the Bruins and a defenseman with a C on their jersey feels right to me. The tradition of it, when you talk about, Ray to Bobby to Ray to Zdeno, that's what I think of. And that's why I was saying Charlie at the last time, and I didn't, but now it's close. It's a pick 'em without question. there's probably in a lot of camps that 88's moved ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
Do you even need to have a captain yet? I mean, I know we got so much time between now
I'm
and
not
then.
sure if they'll jump that. I don't know.
It wouldn't surprise me if they don't pick one, Razor. It
won't surprise me if they pick, if they don't. It won't surprise me if they do, but it won't surprise me if they go into next season with 3 assistants.
Exactly. Maybe even 4. I mean, you get more and you have, you rotate 1, maybe home row. I don't know, but I'm with you. But I do think that David has shown something that maybe we didn't completely know was there.
Exactly. He's done that more, but like his off ice stuff, his care, his ability to bring guys around into the fight. He's elevated his leadership capabilities.
Listen, we haven't seen a guy like McAvoy with this opportunity to show himself as well without the esteemed player here, a Brad or a Patrice. So we don't know that. I'm not saying that Charlie has it. We haven't seen it because he's been hurt. That's been the only thing. That's what also leads me to believe that it wouldn't surprise me if they wait just to see how everybody plays out, without that. So anyways, a long way to go for that because we have no freaking idea who's going to be here and who's not going to be here still. We know that both those guys will be here next year, but who else will be supporting them? Speaking of support, Morgan Geekie continues to support the play. I mean, he's in many ways leading the play along with David Pastrnak. He's going to get his 30. I mean, he could get, the way he's going, he could get 33, 34 on the season. He could. I mean, the number on his contract and the respect around the league continues to grow. I hear from people just like you do from around the league regularly. And I had 2 people talk about how happy they are for Morgan Geekie and how much he's put himself into a different echelon in the National Hockey League.
Yes. You get 30 goals like this. You play with David the way he has. He compliments and has made David a better player. That says a lot and is absolutely noticed around the entire NHL. And it's been awesome. Again, I've said it a few times on the show and on TV, and it just I always root for guys that turn their seasons around after healthy scratched and easily could have been woe is me, my contract year, coach doesn't like me, but he fought and he grinded and he got through it and he's made the most of his opportunity. Because even when he got out unhealthy, it wasn't like he went right to David's line. He was on the 3rd line, the 4th line, and he was making inroads, and they finally put him, and he took advantage of his opportunity. So there's no question the league's taken notice. There's no question that this organization has, and you can. It's been a long enough sample size now that you have him penned in on David's line next year. They're going to be line mates next year.
They'll start as line mates, no question, and hopefully remain line mates because things are going well. I thought all along, and I'm no capologist or salary guy, but I thought all along his contract would start with a 4 something, meaning 4 point something, right? Yeah. I don't know how many years, does he want short? As an RFA, he's still under their control for 1 more year. So does he want a 1 or 2 year deal, or does he want something long? I don't know what he and his representatives want, but I think now, given the salary cap increase and the magic of 30, I don't think there's even a question. It starts with a 5, Razor.
No, it goes to 5, and you wonder where it goes. He's gotten so good that you get into arbitration area, right? Like you get into that situation where the reality is for the player business wise is that you have to ask for so much. Like your comps right now are through the roof,
right?
And
with the cap going up, they're even more through the roof.
There's going to be his comp on July 2nd is going to be ridiculous, folks. It's going to be nuts. So you wonder, where that goes too. But And because it's going to be, it's got to be 5, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be. I mean, it just is.
Yeah. He's finishing a 2-year, $2 million per year deal.
Yeah.
It's easily. Anyways, that's going to be an interesting, I hope not contentious. I hope that's just going to be an interesting situation because of what he's elevated to. Now, people might say, well, it's just 1 year. No, he had a good year last year too.
Yeah. No, he built. It wasn't like he was 3 goals and went to 30. He
Right.
was good last year, and his 2 years in Boston, you put them together, and even if you average them out, it's it's going to work for the numbers and the comps.
He's taken Jake DeBrusk's spot.
Yes.
From a goals finishing perspective, he has. The Bruins still miss Jake's speed. Yep. They do. But from a goal scoring perspective, I can see what you're saying because Jake was between, he
was the automatic 20 to 27.
Yeah. Right? What about a guy who's making a 7+, 7.75, if I remember correctly, and Elias Lindholm? He's now scored goals, including a goal against Buffalo in his last 3 in a row. Just like the rest of the team, he had a real good first period. By the way, the first period, the Bruins had 8 shots on goal in the Buffalo game. And Morgan Geekie had 4 of them. So
yeah,
that was it was a telling number. And the line had both goals. Are you seeing anything different from Elias? Or is he just getting not puck luck, but just the puck is finding him now? He's at last year's point total, basically, that he had between Calgary and Vancouver. Okay. We discussed on the post game. We both agreed he should be more of a 60 to 70 point guy, or for this team to be successful, has to be a 60 to 70 point guy. Can he get there? Rhetorically asking. Don't know. But what have you seen from him? Anything different?
No, I think he's playing with more offensive like players. He's getting that opportunity. He's going to the right area, and you can see there's just a little bit of a confidence boost. There is. He is, even him talking tonight was a little bit different than it's been. I felt like
post game you're referring to.
Yes, post game. His shoulders are back a little bit better, and that goes a long way in this league. So I think this is interesting. It'd be great if they, again, if they finish out, and man, what if he gets 8 points in the last 4 games or something crazy? But if you can do business over the summer with the idea that the winger David Pastrnak is going to drive this line offensively, and you're going to have Lindholm. Like this is what you wanted it to be at the start of the season. You wanted Lindholm to be that guy. You wanted Zacha to be the other guy. But if it's Geekie, even better, because you can move Zacha down and have him on the wing on a second line with a new centerman. Like you need forwards. You need players. So if you and especially wingers in this situation, because you have Middlestat there. So if you can move, if you can find a way to keep your centers in place and move Zacha over to a wing, that's just one less spot that you have to try and fill in the offseason. And if you can get some confidence here that these 3 guys, Lindholm, David, and Geekie, can be aligned for you, then that changes kind of the way you project over the summer, I guess.
Has Swayman settled down since the LA game? And I also use LA Razor from that was such a moment, right? Mm-hmm. Where the focal point, obviously, everything that went on, and then he struggled after that attempted fight with Kemper. But I feel like that game was tough, but I kind of feel like since then it's been, for the most part, much better. It feels, from this perspective, meaning my hockey analyst eyes, that his presence, his set, everything seems better, and there's a focus there again. If I'm forgetting one game, forgive me, folks. It's kind of late, and I'm exhausted, but that's no excuse. But I felt, look, Carolina, he was excellent.
Yeah,
he was excellent in that game. Washington, right? He was pretty good. I mean, we talked about the goal. What was it? The goal, the shorty, the first one where you talked about a lot have been going in on that glove side and stuff, but even the short side too. But I thought he still had 2 really good periods against Washington. Is he has he reset just enough? I guess that's the question for your liking.
Yeah, he has. And he needs to finish strong to be able to, okay, my game, it's coming. And I learned a lot this year, and I gained a lot of experience, and I know what I need to do in the summer to get better. You need all those kind of thoughts going into the off season as a goaltender, and I think he's getting there. The positives are he's had a lot of humble pie this year, and that's never a bad thing in hockey or in life, is to be reset. It's not fun, it's not enjoyable to go through, but we all do it. We all do have to go through that at certain points in our lives, and certainly in pro sports, it happens even quicker and feels a little bit more intense than regular life, but it's necessary, and I think that will serve him really well this summer. Another positive for everyone to look like. He's fought, he's battling, he's trying, he's working every day. And there's been guys that have signed 8-year deals that don't try this hard and don't battle this hard. And especially in the first year of their deal, that's just like, my season sucked, I'll just look to next year and we'll move on. And I think he's done a good job trying to work through it every day. Those are the positives. The other, and also, listen, I think you've been around these teams. You know what it's like in these areas when you finally you're not making the playoffs, which basically happened on the road. Yeah. That road trip, they could have talked themselves. You're still thinking, okay, we're only 4 points out. We're right there, and then you lose the 5 in a row on the road. So I think after the road trip, them coming home, there's a relief in knowing you're not making it. There is a time where you're like, okay, now I'm just gonna play. You just say, F it, I'm going for it. We're out, we're done. Now you play freer. You just do. And Buffalo Sabres are in garbage time. They do it every year in garbage time. So that's my only, I feel like the Bruins are in garbage time a little bit. So it matters, but it's also kind of fool's gold as well. Like it's just like, okay,
right. No, look, you and I already talked about that, and we talked a few weeks ago about how these games, even with good results, not a few weeks ago, a few games ago, it's not going to mean you're going to be automatically better next year. I get that, but what I'm hoping is that just the look of him in net, his rebound control, his last few, just those things, I just say, okay, better. But
no,
holy smoke,
again, he yes, and to all of, like, he didn't forget how to play goal. He had a tough go. He didn't play good. He wasn't consistent, all those things, but he hasn't lost it. Like, it's not like going to be a shit show disaster for 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's the good news, and that's what we're seeing. And again, he's got to build on it for 4 more games. Just build.
That is a perfect segue, because I want to ask you about somebody else who's struggling right now. We're going to get there, but I want to talk about build, and that's Graciano Construction, because I want to talk about what they can build. They can build your dream house. They can help just remodel it, refresh it, revitalize it. They can do whatever you want, from big projects to small. They serve the Greater Metro West area and further outside of Boston as well. If you call them up and you got something big going, give Graciano Construction a look. GracianoConstruction.com, or call them 508-330-7589. Doug Graciano, his brother Andre, and their crews, they are such pleasures to deal with. They are so nice. They are very sharp with regard to little things that often can get overlooked, and they will help make your project seem enjoyable, which is sometimes hard to do when you're doing home projects that sometimes take turns. But Graciano Construction, it's a turn for the better. Go check them out. GracianoConstruction.com or 508-330-7589. Speaking of real estate, let's talk about RTN right here. The spring move season is upon us in full throttle. Many people have already looked for their places. Some, like our own guy, RC, have found a new place. That's right.
Love
the
it.
Man that makes it all happen, RC. He worked with RTN Realty and Chris Gentile. Chris helped him find a place that he is excited to move into in a week or so. Even our RC said it best, moving sucks, but I'm looking forward to this place. So he can't wait to get there. Check out Chris Gentile at cgentile@rtnrealty.com, or you can call him directly at 617-835-0845 for a no pressure consultation. Whether you're looking to lease or buy, whether you got a place in Mass, Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, check out rtnrealty.com for all your real estate needs. And lastly, our other sponsor for this show are our new friends at Sunset Lake CBD. If you use the code BREW20, BRU20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. Go to sunsetlakecbd.com. And if you're looking for topicals or gummies or tinctures, they have got you covered. And if your order's over $75, Razor, they can ship your order for free. These guys know what they are talking about. They are an organic farm up in northern Vermont. They ship straight to your door. You can try different things. They take pride in all their customer service. They are fantastic. I just got a big shipment of some the Good Night gummies, both with, and there's also a product without melatonin. Depends on the night, how much sleep I can get. They're fantastic. So go check out sunsetlakecbd.com. Tell them the guys from Morning Brew with Jaffe and Razor sent you. Again, use the code BRU20 for 20% off your entire order. You will love these products. I know both Razor and RC do as well.
Love it.
What's up with Mason Lohrei? Mason Lohrei is minus 28 in 21 games, if my math is correct, since Four Nations return. Minus 28. Plus minus doesn't always tell the whole story. Right now it's telling.
Oh, no, it does. Yeah, in this case it does. Yeah.
And you know, right now, Razor, lately, because I think he's struggling so much in his own zone, we haven't seen him be confident in the O zone. We haven't seen the difference. Your take on big number 6? What's going on?
This is the most concerning one. Mm-hmm. Again, you know, we just talked about Swayman and the battle and the competing and knowing you have a shitty season, but you're kind of fighting through it and trying to get to the end. And David and Mason feels lost. It looks lost to me right now. And it looks like it just looks like there's not enough focus or detail or again, like this is such a good opportunity for him to really have taken the bull by the horns, and defense was always the question mark, and you can close things out, but the fact that you're -3 every night is just and I get it, there's some empty net, but it's just too much of a pattern, and there's got to be a lot of concern just internally on like how do we get this kid to learn to play defense and close out, because we need him to be stronger. We need him to win more battles. Yeah, you just have to win more one-on-one battles. It's the National Hockey League.
The level of engagement, the boxing out has to be stronger. I think there has to be special measures taken this summer. I mean, the Bruins have had an absolute amazing amount of big time defensemen in their organization. Yeah. I mean, I'm not being smart here. You know, do you get a guy like Zdeno Chara to work with them? You know, something like that. You know, you already have Adam McQuaid that is there, but there has to be some, I would imagine, some special sessions, Razor, working on some of these things that are hard to replicate, by the way, outside of game action. They just are, but there has to be video. There has to be everything. There has to be increased strength, physical strength for him as well.
Yeah. And I think, again, always looking at the positive, always looking at the opportunity is this now is you know, he had success last year.
Yep.
Yeah. Right. He had
success this year for some time too.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But especially in the playoffs, like he was good in the playoffs. Like he did his thing. We were concerned about his defense at times, but he didn't get exposed in the playoffs last season. Of course, there's other players around him and they were able to ping pong them through. And you wonder as okay, this is my first full-time year. I'm in the NHL now. This is me. This is what I do. I make plays offensively and I get the puck out. I hope that he's taking this to heart. If he ends up having the worst plus minus in the NHL, which he is the leader of right now, you have to take that to heart, like in a big, big way. And you have to say, okay, I get what everyone's been telling me for the last 2, 3, 4 years as I was coming into this, that I need to clean these things up. And I've gotten away with it in my first year, and I got away with it in the playoff, but I need to get to that level, and I need to really dial it in and listen to what everyone's telling me and do that. So there's an opportunity here with this to teach and to learn. And that's what Mason's going to need to take.
A lot of changes on the back end. I hate to remind everybody, with no Hampus Lindholm, no Charlie McAvoy, no Carlo now. And remember, Carlo played with Lohrei. I mean, are we
Carlo,
seeing,
seeing that?
Are we seeing the exposure level?
Yes.
Since it's so much more significant? Is that the main reason? Yeah, listen, the kid's still got a ton of talent, and he has got a lot of confidence in his offensive game. There's no question. I think I would actually, I don't say I'd give up a little of that offensive flair for more stout defense. I don't want to take that away from him at all, but I absolutely want him to be more robust defensively coming up. And, with the return, hopefully everything next year is fine with Hampus. Everything's great with Charlie. That should help. You'll have to get another defenseman or two around him as well. But the kids are going to have to get stronger physically and I think in the mental part of the game too. And that's normal. That is normal given where he's at. Yes, he's older. He's not 20 years old. He's a couple of years older than that, but he's still young in his pro hockey life.
Correct. And he's still young in his pro hockey life that you don't get enough. He hasn't got enough lessons yet.
No, he hasn't.
And this is a lesson. And this
is a big summer for him too.
Monster. Summer. This is probably, we talk about Lindholm, we talk about Swayman and their summers. Like Mason, he's really got a big one, and he's restricted too, which will be really interesting to see, kind of what they like, how that works out too, how that plays out. Hopefully that one's just a quick one, and it's like, okay, let's just
couple of years, here we go. Let's bump it up.
You get your one way, you get your millions, and but we're watching carefully here.
I am not saying that missing the playoffs is a good thing. Look, we know they're out, but maybe getting a little bit of time off. You're done mid-April. He can get back to work mid-May. You take 2 to 4 weeks. When I say off, go do your thing. Go enjoy being that young and whatever. Then you get back 3-4 weeks later and you start. The good off season could give him a long off season, could give him a lot of time. It could to physically develop more. And again, flush out some of this stuff and learn some other stuff. So we'll keep obviously an eye on that. That's a talking point I wanted to get to.
Yeah.
Real quick, I want to just ask about 2 more players. Fraser Minten, who we really haven't discussed. I mean, he gets his first 2 games in the NHL since we've done our last show. Gets called up from the American League. Plays against Carolina, plays against Buffalo. And then I want to ask you about Fabian Lysell. Let's start with Minten, who we're seeing all these 90s. We got number 92, 91, 92, 93.
Yeah, it's not
94 in Lauco, 95 in Lohrei. I don't ever remember a Bruins team having all these numbers, regardless.
No.
He's wearing 93. I thought Carolina, I noticed him a lot more than Buffalo. I didn't feel like I noticed him more much. Meanwhile, I didn't really notice anybody great against Buffalo except for the top line when all said and done. But early thoughts on Fraser Minten, who arguably becomes the Bruins' top prospect now.
No, he looks the part. His body's type, his skating, he doesn't look out of place. He looks like when he goes out and warm up, he looks like an NHL player. I didn't think about him both games that he looks overwhelmed or overmatched. So that's a good thing. The eye test works. Of course, he's 20 and he hasn't played many NHL games, so he's still got a ton to learn. He didn't really play well in Buffalo. So, okay, now we really look at New Jersey and the bounce back and being on the road and again, these guys are in it is a tougher spot to be a young guy on these bad teams. It is, but you have to find a way to reset when you get beat up like this. So again, first impression's really good for Fraser Minten in the fact that he looks like a hockey player, and he's just got to continue to build from that. And again, this is a good little taste. This for him, it's not quite the same as the next guy we're going to talk about, and Fabian Lysell. Fraser Minten, this is kind of bonus time. Be around Boston, get on the plane, meet some of the guys, be around them, have an insane Calder Cup playoff, win a couple rounds, be a huge force down in that, and then jump. That's where he's at in his development. This is just kind of, he doesn't need to score 5 goals this week to be an NHLer next year.
No, he needs to just be and he seemed very responsible defensively. He played responsibly, especially defensively against Carolina, against Buffalo. I mean, again, his whole line, he was a -2, played a little over 14 minutes, 3 of 6, 3 wins, 6 losses.
He had 2 bad plays on those. Those minuses.
Yep.
They were bad plays.
They got confused in their coverage. He was up too high on one of them with Lysell. Let's talk about Fabian Lysell, who actually showed, I thought, early on in the game against Buffy, he had 1 or 2 chances where you're like, okay, good effort, going around the net in the first period. But then he had some other stuff as well. I mean, still no points for Fabian. Well, I should say no points for Fabian Lysell. He had the one opportunity again against Buffalo, but I mean, he's under the microscope so much, Razor. I mean, I'm still, I guess I'm saying, as I struggle to figure out, I'm still trying to figure him out. I guess that's it. Or is it, have I figured him out and I've just, and I don't know it? I guess, is that the question,
No, I know that I have that feeling with a lot of the guys that have been up and down. And unfairly, it's like you look at Wyatt Johnson, or you look at some of these other young guys, right, that have made it and have figured it out. But that's the business. Unfortunately, that's the business, and everyone who made it has gone through this. And David Pastrnak, it was the same thing when he was 18 and 19. And you see the picture of him tonight, like he looked really young when he was 18, but he scored goals, right? He did his thing, and tonight was not good for Fabian. It was not good. Again, he had some good offense of situations. He did a great job in the first period on a good chance. He flew down the wall the first time, like, oh, his speed there.
It. Yeah.
But the defensive one-handed stuff, skating past the non-switch off on the other goal, like that kind of tape for a guy like Fabian, where the defense is questioned, that goes a long way, where the coaches are, I can't. And that's why, he missed the game against Washington for essentially that. They essentially, Joe said that. It'll be interesting to see kind of what happens now going forward, because that second period defensively can make you miss games as a young guy. It just can. So I don't know. It's tough.
By the way, he wasn't the only, and I know we're specifically talking about him, and it was tough because it's a result-oriented business, for crying out loud.
That's what we do. It's the NHL.
It's a short-term, it's a very finite career for you guys that played in it. It is. It's not like you've got 25, 30 years. You're talking handful of years to make an impression.
Yeah, not even that, right? Like I was going to say, like it's a finite career, but the opportunity to make an impression is so much more finer, which is terrible grammar, but it is. It can be 60 minutes changes your whole career in one way or another. Like that's the unfortunate part, but that's the reality of it.
Yeah. But, and again, he wasn't the only one in this game, but
I don't want to beat up on him. I just,
right. We're not beating up on him. We're just having an honest conversation. I mean, holy smokes. Bruins gave up breakaways galore. Tage Thompson, another hat trick, etc. We don't need to break down the game. Just know that Thompson has 6 goals this year against the Bruins in 2 games in Buffalo. I think the Sabres, am I remembering correctly?
Send them a case of wine.
They've beaten the Bruins 3 out of 4 times this year. Is that the last 3 times? I know they won in Boston recently in the extra time. Tuck scored, and then they throttled them 7-2 the other time in Buffalo.
The Bruins got them early.
Right, so they've won 1 of 4 this year against them.
That's right. And it was a late goal, wasn't it, on Reimer? Was Reimer?
Yes.
I think Reimer was – they beat Reimer in Buffalo and in San Jose.
What is the chances of saying the Sabres would beat you 3 out of 4 times in a year? All right, that's going to wrap up this morning brew with Jaffe and Razor. Razor, you and I are going to do it again after Tuesday's game. Bruins are in New Jersey on Tuesday night. We will sit down and chat about something. Folks, if you got any suggestions, feel free to chime in. And if you don't ask me about the draft. I don't know anything about the guys, except I know there's a couple of good ones up at the top. I don't know, Razor, unless you feel like you know something. I haven't seen these kids play at all. You know, the kids, except for the college kids. I haven't seen the juniors kids. So we'll wait on that. All right, Bruins lose after winning. Ryan, thank you for everything. Razor, thank you for everything. And what are we going to do? We're going to wrap this up. We'll talk to you after Tuesday. Drink your coffee. It's good for you.